Check 1, 2, 3. Is this thing on? Holy cow, it is on. Gunner's here from Sweden. Welcome, sir. Otis is here from Houston, Texas. Welcome, sir. Let's see what else we got going here. Let's see. Welcome, and we're about to go live on Facebook here in just a minute. We are live on YouTube only at the moment. And let's see, let's get rid of some of these bright lights. Bright lights and happy days. Holy cow. Okay, all right. Ooh, that looks interesting. That looks interesting. I just better close it. Holy cow. Testing, testing, testing. That's right. Is this thing working? Holy cow. All right. You know, it's so nice on those days when suddenly you realize, golly gee, you've just about got your setup the way you want it. I don't need this. I don't have a guest today. You know what I need to do one day? Hang on a second. Let's adjust the chair. There we go. Is to show you guys how to hook your cell phone up so that you can take calls. That's fun. Let's see. So we're almost live on Facebook. Let me bring myself up just a little higher there. There we go. And, oh, you know what I need to do? Chris is here from New Zealand. Welcome, sir. Glad to have you. I need to turn off the air conditioner. 1 second. Because it's making just a little background roar. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Probably need to turn off the phone, too. There we go. There we go. Now we're live everywhere there is to be. Welcome, Joseph from Nigeria. Holy cow. We got a real international audience here, including Rich from Sacramento. I guess you could say. California's still part of the U.S. Sure it is. Hey, Rich. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Miss hanging out with you. Today's broadcast is, it's not really sponsored by, but we could say it's sponsored by Dum Dums and Smarties, two of my favorite candies. Dum Dums is made by the Spangler Candy Company, and one of our friends, Ken Richer, sent me a big package of these. And Smarties are actually, I think these are made in Canada. I used to have nothing good to say about Canada, but now I do. So there you go. So did you fry something with that PO injector? Well, I don't want to steal my own thunder, so I can't tell you. Neil is here. Welcome, Neil. What's the weather like in Minnesota? It's 93 degrees here in Alabama today. A little on the chilly side, I'd say. And let's see, Conan Patrick is here from Belgium. He's watching on the Streaming Idiots Facebook group. Welcome, sir. Sorry, you can't get your comments over here. Facebook has got this privacy thing where they can't, they won't allow groups. They won't allow API access to group comments. You can get page comments. So if you're watching this on the Eastern Shore Facebook broadcast, Eastern Shore Broadcasting Facebook page, we can see the comments there. Oh, RJ's here. It's been a while. He's been busy. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about troubleshooting a weird frame rate issue that I had in one of my PTZ cameras. Welcome, Daniel. Yes, indeed. I think I did the same thing a few years ago with one of my homemade injectors. Oh gosh, Rich has got some of the coolest homemade projects though. Rich, are you almost through with your homemade encoder farm? We need to get you on to talk about that. That was good stuff. Probably still is. I mean, Rich has got all sorts of things up his sleeve. Let's see. We've got just a couple of minutes here. And Final Focus Productions, LLC, welcome. Final Focus. I'm trying to remember who that is. Final Focus. That's not Scott. Oh, there's Dave. It's a cold snap. 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Hey, Dave. Oh, Dave, that reminds me. I meant to send you a note. There's somebody that wants to sell some lightly used Magewell USB 3 SDI external capture cards. If you're interested, PM me and I'll give you their information. Yeah, we don't do kind of gear sales in the Streaming Idiots group, because otherwise it would become a swap meet, and that's not the purpose of the group. Rich says SRT is the future. Rich, I think with you it's already present. Hey, Dean, welcome, sir. God, I got to turn this phone down. Hair appointment tomorrow at 11:30. Yes, thank you. Can't wait. Okay. So I think we've got all our important. Somebody's at my side door. No, I've got that. Roomba battery is low. Got that. Streaming Idiots is starting now. I got that. So let's turn the phone off. And just as I do that, somebody tries to call. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. Steve. It's Steve, of course. Sorry about that. Jeez. Otis, what's the temperature in Texas today? RJ wants to know when I'm going to be in Fort Walton Beach again to give us a tour of the renovated 360 multi-set studio. Ooh, I'm going to be jealous? Well, why would I want to come if I'm going to be jealous? Michael's here. Welcome, sir. Chris is here. So you weren't tempted to go out on a boat at Pensacola the other day? No, I didn't find out about it until too late. But wouldn't that have been cool? Oh my gosh. What a thrill to see something like that come out of the sky. Holy cow. Holy cow. All right, let's see. So we've got New Zealand, we've got Belgium, we've got Sweden, we've got California, we've got Florida, we've got, let's get to where we can see everybody. We've got Minnesota, we've got Nigeria, and who have I left out? We've got Texas. It's only 95 in Houston. Okay, well, that's pretty tolerable. 95, feels like 105. Could be worse. Hey, Carl, welcome, sir. It's good to see you. When I was out in Stillwater, Oklahoma a couple of weeks ago with Sandy, we weren't, it wasn't us. Dave Edwards is calling me. Dave, is that how you, it's supposed to be a PM, of course. But we were in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and it was above 100 every day. But they kept telling us, oh, it's a dry heat. It's a dry heat. Yeah, like that makes some sort of difference. No, it doesn't make some sort of difference. Okay, let's see. Daniel's in Wisconsin. Okay, that's a smart guy. Those Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan people, that's the place to be this time of year. Okay, we still got a few minutes. All right, that clock says 4 minutes till. This one says 3 minutes till. Which one should I believe? Holy cow, I think this one's right, because this one's computer clock. That one's a battery clock. But it's nice. That one's been a lifesaver to me, to have a real clock right across there in my eye line. All right. today we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? I guess I would say we're going to talk about PoE injectors. PoE injectors. Yeah, PoE injectors. And while we're waiting, it was interesting. I did some quick video with my cell phone camera as kind of preparation. Parker! All right. Everybody say hi to Parker. Parker is my grandson. He is living in St. Petersburg, Florida. Probably shouldn't have said that. Too late now. Hey, Park. I've been meaning to call you. We need to talk. I have an idea. Parker, I built a PC for Parker that he's using for his YouTube videos. Parker, if you think about it, if you've got a link to your YouTube channel, you can post it here, and I bet a lot of people would come subscribe to your channel. So if you can think of a way to get the link to your YouTube channel, you can post it right there in the chat. All right. That's my man right there. Parker is 10. And he, you remember last July 2019, Parker did an entire episode of this show. So, yes, cell phone camera video. Will you see smoke in the video? No, there's nothing caught on fire, Rich. But what I was going to say was, okay, thanks, Park. It's a great kid, smart as a whip, and just, golly, what a great parents. That's part of the reason too. Anyway, I ended up keeping 5 different videos, and I said, I can take some time and I can stitch them all together. And I use Camtasia just because I started using it years ago and then never stopped. Or I can, well, Rich, I'm sorry, your cell phone's smoking. It's too young to smoke. Or I can bring them into vMix and trigger them together so that they are one seamless video out of 5 different segments. And that took 4 minutes. And so that was definitely the way to do it. Hey, Ed, welcome. Glad you're here. We'll be starting officially in just, actually we should have started 15 seconds ago. Anyway, just a minute. So I took these 5 videos, and basically I starting with the first one, I did a trigger to go to the second one, basically to do a cut, and then the video itself is an automatically start with transition. So the cut to that one on completion, and then on completion cut to that one, on completion cut to that one, on completion cut to that one. It should work. I think I tested it. Well, we'll see. And if it doesn't, I'll trigger it and you can laugh at me. Probably need Parker here with me to help out. Yeah, we do. All right, well, let's get the show on the road here. And if you have questions, pop them in here and we'll go back through them. We probably won't take questions per se during the show, but in the post show, we'll come back and get the questions. X keys experts. When using a double wide key top to do do I need to remove a plunger so I can keep the activators from doing odd things? No. I've got, thank you, Dave. That was so cool. Dave reminded me to talk about my X keys, XK80, and you can see I've got this is a quad button. Do I have a double button on here? Yeah, I've got a double button on here. It's my take button. And you can leave both plungers down there, and then you can just key for any one of the buttons. In this case, it would be 4 different buttons. In this case right here, oops, where is it? Right there. It would just be 2. And I think I've got this one right here as my mute button, and just one of them, one of the 4, all 4 plungers are there, but only one of the 4 plungers activates anything, and the others don't activate anything. So I think you need it in order to keep the button steady and stable. So that's a quick answer. I don't know that I'm a X keys expert, but I always have an opinion. There you go. Welcome, Alfredo Tiglo. Glad to have you. All right, let's get the show on the road here. You ready? Let's go. Whoops, where did that guy go? Oh my gosh. Hold on. Don't anybody go anywhere. Don't anybody go anywhere. There we go. There we go. That's where we should have been to begin with. I knew there was something I'd forgotten. Hello, welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. And this obviously is Streaming Idiots. Holy cow. Yes, this is a show where you get to see a little behind the scenes stuff about live streaming and watch me make mistakes. I mean, you know, the kind of the unofficial motto is we make these mistakes so that you don't have to. And having good prep ahead of your show and running through all of the details ahead of time. Whoops, hope that's not somebody trying to come in here. Will make all the difference in between having a show that has glitches like that one or not glitches. You know, and it's kind of funny, if you find and fix a problem in advance, you know, nobody knows that you ever would have had that problem because you didn't have the problem. And the same thing goes for great features that you want to try to put in, but if you don't put them in or if you can't get them fixed in time to put them in, nobody knows unless, of course, you advertised them in advance that they were even supposed to be there. So don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. So a big shout out and a big thanks in advance, well, in advance and in arrears, to the Spangler Candy Company and my friend Ken Richer for sending us a whole bunch of the official candy, one of the official candies of Streaming Idiots. It's called, that's right, Dum Dums. That's right. It's a great lollipop, and it's these are really good too. By the way, if you have a sweet tooth, and you've forgotten about Dum Dums, just grab a bag. And then, of course, my other favorite candy, Smarties. So Dum Dums and Smarties is perfect for Streaming Idiots. And you'll find both of those in my candy drawer for sure. So today we're going to talk about PoE injectors and mistakes that I have made. The last list could go on and on and on forever. But before we do, today's setup, just briefly, hey, Jan, glad you're here. The camera that we're using for the live stream is the BirdDog P200. It's coming in full NDI. In fact, it's going to be the subject of what we're going to be talking about here in just a second. So that's why I wanted to mention it. The vMix system is one that I built. It's based on I think it's an 8700K CPU with 16 gigs of RAM and a NVIDIA, I don't remember the brand of it, but it's an NVIDIA RTX 2060 graphics card. And we're using 52% of the memory. We're live streaming to Facebook, to the Facebook page, Eastern Shore Broadcasting, Facebook group, Streaming Idiots, and to our YouTube account. And we've got our YouTube account embedded at our Eastern Shore Broadcasting .com webpage. So we'd love to have you visit there, and then you can look through the neat gear we have in our store. In fact, we're about to add some stuff in our store. Welcome, Tim. Glad to have you. We'll be adding the BirdDog Flex line to the store. And in fact, next week, Eamon Drew from BirdDog will be on the show. They are on just extreme quality. Thank you, RJ. They are extreme quality. They are on extreme lockdown. That's what happens when you look at a word that's not the word that you're about to say. They're on extreme lockdown. I mean, golly, it's draconian, the restrictions that they have. Holy cow. So he's going to be coming to us from his kitchen next week. So you want to put it on your calendar for next week, that's August 12th at 3 o'clock Eastern. Come on in, Marie. There's always room for you, because you will want to see that show. We'll talk about the Flex line, and we'll talk a little bit about Bird Dog in general, and talk about what little he can share on the future. I had to sign an NDA to talk about this. I mean, to learn about this other stuff before I could talk about it. It's crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Eamon is in Australia. Yes, he is in Australia, Rich. So, but he's going to come here via vMix call, of course. vMix call. I meant to have some of the footage available, but I got sidetracked and didn't get to it. So forgive me on that one. But about 6 weeks ago, I think, I used this camera, the Bird Dog P200. I think it's called the Bird Dog EYES, EYES P200. I used it for the very first time. And I mean, I literally took it out of the box, plugged it in with Ethernet, and just let it go. And it was plugged it into Ethernet that was plugged into a PoE injector, because back then, 6 weeks ago, way back then, my network was it was a gigabit network, but it wasn't a PoE switch. I've since got a PoE switch. I haven't installed it yet, but I'm working that direction. So I had this little guy right here. And this little guy turned out to be the source of all that was wrong in my life. Is there a slight audio sync? Do I have my other mic on for a change? I should only have one mic. Check 1, 2. Oh, you know what? I think let me check that real quick, Rich. I redid the camera. So you tell me. Okay. We'll just have to deal with it. So we're getting lost because I'm looking at the chat here, because I'd love to just chat with you guys. It's so much fun. I've got to do something with this phone. It's driving me crazy. It just buzzes now. And that's just super annoying. And yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. So, yeah, let me just run the video. Let's just run the video. Now again, this video is, this is what I shot with my cell phone earlier today. It's 5 separate videos, and I was going to stitch them together, but I just put them into vMix as 5 separate videos, and then use triggers to let this first video start the second video on completion. So we'll see if it all works. I tested it earlier. It looks like it should work. So thank you for the comments on the audio. Let's try this guy. So, and let me get my ears on so that I can hear the comments on this thing too, because I think I gave commentary. Let's see. Maybe I did. Let's, with no further ado, here we go. Okay, Bird Dog P200. Right now he is not powered, and he's not powered because, heck, fire. That little guy right there, that is a 100 megabit per second PoE injector. And so it's limited to 100 megs. And you remember that was part of the problem that we had before, is that the camera was stuttering because it was set for 180 and we were trying to squeeze 180 through 100 and it wasn't working. So we're going to, in just a minute, we're going to go adjust the camera so it'll work with this little guy. But in the meantime, we've also purchased this guy, and we're hoping that that will allow us to have the full 180 megabits per second going through, and plus it's a PoE plus, which will give us just a little extra juice in case we need it. I think actually the P200 is rated for a PoE plus. I'm surprised it worked with this guy, but you know, we'll find out for sure. So we'll be experimenting with this. Actually, one of my thoughts was that I would take this, although I don't need to do it now that we figured out how to make this guy work. Well, let me show you how to do this, and we'll talk about some more of this in just a second. Okay, well now we're in the bird dog interface for the camera, and we are going to go to AV setup, and we are going to go to NDI audio video setup, and we're going to adjust the bandwidth. So we're going to draw it back to, oh, I don't know, just under 100 to see if we can use our old switch. So let's set it down to 90 so that we're going to tell the camera that it's going to max out at 90, and let's see how we do. The Ethernet cable into the Ethernet jack, not into the RS-232 jacks on the back. By the way, there's our power, and we have unplugged from power. So let's go back around and let's see if we can, let's see if we can find where we're supposed to be. Hold on a second here. There we go. So let's zoom in. Well, let's go full screen with this guy. All right, now how's our frame rate? Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. So what we've essentially done is we've connected this camera, the BirdDog P200, over less than a gigabit network, and we've told the camera, hey, only send max, work out how to do it in your own head, but don't send us any more than 90 megabits per second, because we can't handle it, because we only have 100 megabit little PoE adapter. That was our bottleneck. So we'll put this guy in. We're going to put that guy in so that we can go hog wild with the highest quality that the P200 is going to do. But and by the way, what you're seeing, you're not seeing directly the P200. You're seeing it on a monitor in vMix when you've got a vMix full screened on a particular input. So there we go. We'll experiment with our PoE injector and see how it goes. Is we're going to go ahead and max out the bandwidth for the camera all the way up to 180, and let's bring up a window in Task Manager so that we can see whether or not this is working. We'll go to Performance tab, we'll go to Ethernet, and we see we're receiving 181. So we're getting it. We're getting it all, and it's going through this new gigabit injector. And let me show you this guy. This guy is pretty cool. Okay, pay no attention to the spaghetti cables behind it. This is the gigabit PoE plus injector, and you can see you've got well, you can't really see. Maybe if I tilt it that way, you can see it's got data in, that's the red cable, and data and power out, that's the blue cable. So the blue cable is going to the camera, and then the two red lights are telling me that the top light is the port light to indicate we've got a connection, and the bottom light is the AC light to tell me that we have power. And then look here on the other end, this is a conventional power cable. So the brick is actually inside here, which means that we can plug this guy into any outlet and we don't cover up 4 other outlets in the process. So that is the TrendNet Gigabit PoE Plus injector. And that was the video. And I realized that I'd forgotten to turn the audio on for a couple of them. But interesting, you know, probably my last observation that this little guy right here plugs in a conventional outlet, which means that it doesn't overlap. I mean, this was the plug for this little guy. Which is a great little plug, and it's, you know, it's nice if it's going to go into a conventional electrical outlet, because then it only takes its own space because it's just got the two prongs here and it's got the horizontal orientation, as opposed to some of the power supplies that are like this. But when I plug it into my UPS, my uninterruptible power supply, my battery backup and power filter, it would cover another side. So it was so nice to have something that didn't. And also such a great discovery about this little guy that I can still use him even with the BirdDog camera by adjusting the camera and slowing, essentially not slowing it down, slowing the bit rate, reducing the bit rate so that it will not overload this little switch. Well, it's not really a switch, is it? It's because it's not switching anything. It's just adding, it's an injector. It's just adding power. This is adding PoE. This guy is adding PoE plus. And I meant to check the specs again on the BirdDog P200 and see if the BirdDog, I guess it runs on PoE because it did. You know how specs are. You can say, oh yeah, what is it? Ethernet will only go, 323 feet or whatever it is. And, there have been times, and there may have been times in your life too, where I've run Ethernet 400 feet because I had to, without a booster or anything else like that. I was ready to boost it, but I said, oh, let's go ahead and roll it all out. And if we have to, we'll cut it and put some ends on, some RJ45s and plug the booster in. But it worked, and it worked consistently. And, that's just the way life is. Sometimes it works when you break the rules, and sometimes it doesn't because you broke the rules. So I'm really excited about the BirdDog. I'm excited, as RJ said earlier, about the picture quality. And I've actually got two coming back in here off of demo. So, and I think one of them's already spoken for, but if you're interested in seeing what this camera looks like in your church, in your studio, and would like to borrow this guy for a short period of time, I would loan him to you. And if you actually wanted to buy one of the demos, I'd make you a deal on it, or we can get you a brand new one that's never been touched by human hands. Well, I guess it got built by human hands, but you know what I mean. Still full warranty either way, but you may want one that hasn't traveled about the United States. So there's a deal there for somebody if they're interested in a deal. The other thing that Tom needs to get a PoE switch. Actually, Dave, thank you for that comment. I do have a PoE switch here. Actually, I got one that has ears on it so I can put it on my rack, and now I've got to make room on my rack to get it. And I'm inspired to take care of that spaghetti mess. I don't know if you saw it in the back of the video, and get everything nicely installed. You know how it is in the real world, or at least my real world, is that RJ says he'll take me up on that offer. Well, maybe I just need to bring it over and we'll have lunch. You can buy me lunch if I bring it over. How about that? In the real world, sometimes you just have to run cables. You have to put things together. You have to test them. You have to see if they work. And then you don't always take the time, or at least I don't, later to go back and clean everything up and do it all nice and neatly. And so you end up with a mess of cables. So my project for 2020, even though it's already August, is to clean up my cables and to label all my cables so that as I'm testing things, as I'm moving them around, I don't have to say, okay, what does this cable go to? The fact that I have different color cables was my first effort to try to simplify that. But I'm looking down at my switch right now, and I see I've got a purple, a green, an orange, a light blue, and two yellows. so the yellows don't really help me out. And then I've got a red going into the TrendNet injector. And my apologies right now to Brian at PoE Texas, because I should have gotten this gear from you at PoE Texas. And I just had a brain fart, wasn't even thinking about it, and just popped onto Amazon and got it. But I could have gotten my PoE Texas gear on Amazon as well if I'd taken time to research that. So if you're interested in PoE, PoE Texas is a great source. Brian Tyler, that's right, and would be a good knowledgeable source, because the guy is an electrical engineer, knows everything about PoE, PoE plus, PoE plus plus, PoE plus plus plus, all that kind of thing. So it's going to be good and fun. Really excited by the projects that we've got going on here at Eastern Shore Broadcasting. We've got 6 different PCs that are under construction right now, and then we've got about 5 of those portables that are just waiting to get built. We're actually putting together our first portable for a customer today. If you're interested in the portables, it looks something like this. We're going to have the, you can see in the background, that's what it looked like when we got them. These are cases from the Acme Computer Company, Acme Portable Machines. And we sent the outside tins out and had them powder coated, except that keyboard, we forgot to send that. So we're having that sent back out. And you can choose your color, or you can go, I think we're going to go ahead and get some made in that crinkly black. But then we can still do school colors or team colors or your favorite color, just about any color. I think the powder coater guy told me he had 300 colors available. So if you needed to match something, we could certainly do that too. And it would look really cool to silk screen a logo on it. The back side of the case is completely flat, and would be great to have a logo put on it of some kind. These cases are pre-owned. They are 6 to 8 years old. We've banged a lot of the dent. You wouldn't believe the dents in these things. Holy cow. And they still run. So we're taking the guts out and putting new power supplies, new motherboards, new processors, new everything inside. And they're really cool, really cool. Really enjoying working with that project. And my hat is off to T.C. Long, the voice of rodeo out in Texas, is one of the first recipients of one of these. So there we go. The Sinclair suitcase. That's right. I think who has got one? Rich? Oh, Ken Benedict has got one. That's right. He just bought the case. And so the case, and we sold him the case and the guts. So he's got an extra computer that comes in it. So there you go. If you missed the intro to the show, we do have the Bird Dog. I guess he's the what is he? He's not CEO. He's not COV. He's the chief, probably the chief marketing officer would be my guess. Eamon Drew of Bird Dog will be with us next week. Back in September, when we were in Amsterdam for that big conference, what was that big conference in Amsterdam, and had an opportunity to hang out with Eamon and Dan Miles, his the CEO of Bird Dog. There's an Australian pub in Amsterdam, and so we got to go hang out there and have kangaroo burgers, and it was just. Oh, Dave says he's the COO. Okay. And, or actually Dave says COO. So I think it's just one. And, spend some time talking with him and just hanging out and not talking shop necessarily, but just personal stuff. And it was just a treat to get the chance to know he and Dan a little bit. We were working on a project with Bird Dog and a potential client, I guess, probably back in March or April. And Eamon came in on a Saturday, what for him was a Saturday morning, for us was a Friday afternoon, to help us demo and look at some of the Bird Dog gear that the client was interested in. And I thought that was just above and beyond, and just a real hat tip to Eamon for that. But the other thing is that whenever I see comments in social media, and I follow as many as I've got time for, about problems with Bird Dog, Dan or Eamon will be on top of that very, very quickly. and respond and find out, as much as they can about the problem and try to help people get back on track with where they need to be. And I think that's just stellar. I mean, you don't see that from so many companies. So many companies, people will get on social media and fuss about them, and maybe they'll get a reply and maybe they won't. But these guys will go on there, and if they've screwed up, they'll admit it. And if they need to point somebody in a different direction, they will. And it's so refreshing to deal with people like that. I hope they never lose that character as their company gets bigger and bigger and more products. The other thing that I love about BirdDog, and I love it about vMix too, and I think that's one of the reasons. Maybe it's an Australian thing, but that's one of the reasons that I love vMix so much, is because they are constantly innovating, and the vMix product is constantly being improved and tweaked and new features added. And the guys at BirdDog have adopted the same type of policy, but they're doing it with hardware. And you think, okay, once you sell a car, you can't go out and put a faster engine in it. Well, except they do. And they haven't done it with all their gear, but they've done it with a lot of them. And I think about the very first one that came out, the BirdDog Studio, that big block that you could plug in HDMI or SDI. And, it was an encoder, and then they made it a decoder, and then they made it so, and I'll have to check this. I don't know if it's still in the plans or whether they've already done it, where you could encode, decode, where you can encode two different sources at the same time. Anyway, just really neat things about the company, really, really high on them right now, because I think they're doing things the right way. And I love to see companies that are doing things the right way, and I love to be associated with companies that are doing the right way. So if you're interested in BirdDog gear, tune in next week. Eamon will be here. We'll have some BirdDog Flex gear on hand. We'll have the Flex In, which is a $399 HDMI NDI encoder, plus it's 4K, and it also is PoE plus powered, plus it will power something else like a camera. I mean, just he'll talk some more about it. And then also something called the BirdDog Flex backpack, which is, and the Flex is only like this big. It will actually mount in the battery mount for something, and provide power to that something as if it were a battery, because it plugs in to shore power. And also will take the source, whatever the source would be, HDMI, of course, is the only source it's taking, but make the HDMI and encode that to send it out. Or is it a decoder? It might be a decoder. I think it's an encoder. It's just an encoder, because they've got a third one coming out called the Flex Out that is an HDMI decoder. All of these $399. I thought that we would have, you know what? I bet they're waiting on my doorstep. I've got them sitting out. I have all this gear shipped to my house because there's generally somebody there. So it would, I don't know, I'm getting distracted by the chat again. I have stuff in case it needs a signature. Sandy will sign for it, and then she lets me know it's there, so I can go grab it. So, but I haven't heard from her yet, so we haven't gotten anything. Rich says it would be cool if Eamon could do a shoot at vMix. Well, again, they are on super lockdown. They're not allowed to visit. They're allowed to go to the grocery store once a week, and I think they're allowed to go outside, but they can't go any further than 5 kilometers from their house when they go outside. And they can have, and there are all sorts of stipulations on that. Really, really, really bad news stuff. So no good there. We're going to close out here and go into post-show. If you've got some questions about the PoE injector, about the BirdDog line, and you think I might know an answer to it, then we're happy to give it a shot. Otherwise, stick around. We'll chat some more in the post-show. couldn't resist. I'm sorry. It's just, I think this is like watermelon strawberry or something. Let's see. Oh, it's just strawberry. Awesome. Awesome. And these are Dum Dums by the Spangler Candy Company. Hat tip to Ken Richer. Thank you, Ken. All right, so let's see. Any questions so far about this? Carl says he's on sick leave today. I hope you're going to get well soon. And he caught you today. Well, thank you, Carl. Glad to have you. And by the way, we're not done. We're just through with the show. We're in the Hangout Together post-show. Yeah, I think it would be great if Eamon could do something at vMix. I don't think they're in the same city, Rich. So I'm not sure about that part. But let's see. Let's go back over here and see. Hat tip to Addison Moore. Addison is watching in the Streaming Idiots group on Facebook. And Paulo and Howard were there as well. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you. And let's see. Yeah, we've got one person watching. Oh, that's me. That doesn't count. Let's go back and get out of this one. So, yeah, let's see. RJ says, Tom, now use thin strips of gaff tape to wrap a band around each end of the color cable, adding an additional band to create a next number cable, i.e. one band equal yellow cable, number 2. Well, I think I'm going a little further down the line on that, RJ, is I have got, let's see if I can get it in here without dumping over a bunch of stuff. I bought a kit of heat shrink tubing that's clear. And my goal is, and this is bigger than I would use, but my goal is to take this clear and to have a nicely typed label about whatever it is and put that label around the cable and then heat shrink this over the label so that it's there. So, I mean, it's like super organized. And then probably I've got some, put that out of the way for just a second. Put that out of the way. I've got some extra cable in the closet that I'll probably do that as well and just mark those as, you know, aux 1, aux 2, that kind of thing. So that it doesn't look like a spaghetti mess. And I may start renting out the studio a little bit more, so I want it to look as good as it can. Rich says that the audio sync issue was actually his bad YouTube session. He said it got really bad. He refreshed the page and it was okay now. Excuse me. Now I've seen this happen a few times, not sure why it's happening. Well, I'm not sure either. Let's go into the post show. So if you're watching through a different medium, you can keep up with the text over here. Let's see, can we check and see if that is sharpened? That is, and we can check and see if it's sharpened there. Yes, it is. Okay, good. That looks pretty sharp. So there you go. There you go. It's an exciting time, at least, you know, for us, because we're building so many PCs. We're helping folks, especially some churches, and it's nice to be able to help. We are working literally all over the country. California, Florida, Texas, South Carolina. I'm not sure where that one's going. No, I'm shipping it to Michigan. I think it's going somewhere else after that. Anyway, it's cool stuff. It's cool stuff. Let's see, what else did I miss in the chat while I was talking up? RJ wants to take me up on the offer to demo the BirdDog P200. Rich says that the internet cable looked a little thin. I thought it looked a little thin too, Rich, but it's marked Cat 6. So we'll have to go. Tommy says you have to be aware of the wattage capability of your PoE injector. Well, I thought, Tommy, that's what the PoE and the PoE Plus and the PoE Plus Plus was supposed to indicate, how many watts were available. Michael says that his Ubiquiti 24-port Gen 2 switch is PoE Plus and fanless, so no noise. That's important in a studio environment. Michael Graves says some PoE injectors are not gigabit rated. Yep, and actually I went back and researched the one. I researched, where is it now? Oh, yeah, here it is. I researched this little guy and went all the way back to where I bought it, 4 years ago, and found out what it was online and looked at the specs, and very clearly said it was a 10100. So it was not gigabit. All right, let's see. RJ is saying, well, that'll work labeling if you don't end up using the cable for something else. Well, that's true. The main thing is to be able to trace the cable from source to destination where it's plugged in. Yep, I agree with that too. But I just, sometimes I get on one of these, what would you call it? Anal retentive, and I just have to overdo it to be happy with it. Plus, you look at it and you kind of smile and it's like, yeah, okay, I know where all those cables are. Plus, I've got a bunch of USB cables over here. I need to do USB cables. I need to do the same thing too, because I'm all the time going, okay, what is this going to? Is this going to a mouse or a keyboard or a KVM switch or a webcam? I mean, I'm just looking around at the gear, or my bird dog, my X Keys XK80, or my X Keys. I'm not even sure what the model of this guy is, but it's a little 12-button joystick that I'm playing around with, trying to get comfortable with, so that I can learn how to use it. So if somebody wants one, I can help them. Had a church come by today and excuse me, and pick up the big joystick version of that. I think it's a 64 key with a joystick on it, and played with that guy for months and months, and finally figured out how to use vMix shortcuts to update camera presets, just using the buttons without going into vMix and doing that. And vMix has made the API so that you can update a preset just by using a shortcut, and assign it to a new button, or assign it to whatever button you press. So that's been fun. All right, Cinematography Live, welcome. He says, are you interested in showing how to color match multi-cameras using vMix with the 2x Vector scope setting and the DSC Labs chart? I have done this many times. Well, of course I am. Drop me a note through various medium. You can go to easternshorebroadcasting.com and there's a contact form there, or you can go to Streaming Idiots group and send me a PM there, or just about any other method you want. Happy to do that. All right, let's see. We were going back through the chat to see what we might have missed. Marie says, how did you know your bird dog was faulty? There was a frame rate problem. It was just jerky, and tracked it down to this guy, knowing that he was not 100, or thinking that he was not 100 megabit PoE injector, and so stripped the data cable out of this and went straight to the camera, and then got the power cord and went straight to the camera power cord. Straight, and turned the power on straight to the house power. And then we got a full frame rate. And that's when I realized, aha, this was a limiting factor. And then I had a double aha when I realized that I could take that camera and reduce the bit rate just with a little slider. Didn't have to turn a dial or reset dip switches or anything like that. It was all in the software. It was really, really nice. All right, let's see. What else did we miss? Daniel said that he did not remove any plungers on his X keys. We never did hear from Parker on his YouTube channel. Let's see if I can find it real quickly. Rich says, how's the inventory looking, Tom? I have a few consulting gigs coming up. You know, actually, inventory, I think, is improving on some things. One second. Definitely think that the power supply problem has been fixed. Haven't had any problems getting power supplies. Motherboards seem to be back online. That's good. Oh, you know what? I'm a subscriber to his channel. Let's just look and see what his subscriptions are. CPUs, you know, somebody said they were going to be harder to find, but I haven't found any cases where I couldn't find what I needed. You know, but I'm not buying 100 at a time, although I have gotten some, I have done some estimates where we needed quite a few, and I needed to confirm that I could get that many, and did. Let's see my subscriptions here. One second. Actually, I wanted to do this a while, but yeah, there it is. There it is. And I am putting this in chat if I can, if I'm allowed to. Let's see if that shows up. That is the URL to my grandson's, yeah, there it goes, to my grandson's YouTube channel. And if you guys and gals would do me the favor of subscribing to it, I just think it would be a real boost for him. So, I mean, what's the good of having a granddad with his own internet show if you can't get people to subscribe to his YouTube channel? Jamie asks, on the KiloView E2, what software firmware updates have been instituted since your broadcast with U.S. Broadcasting? The E2 is NDI-HX. So that is out of the box there. To my knowledge, there have been no firmware updates on that in the last maybe month. And the E2 is it's an NDI-HX encoder. It also will do SRT. And so it's pretty cool to be able to take something like that, set it up for SRT, and then ship it out with a camera to a remote client. And all they have to do is plug it into power, and it immediately starts sending video back to wherever you set it as the destination for the SRT. So that can solve a lot of problems for a lot of folks. Sorry. Strawberry is just so good. Streaming fine with 1080p? I think so. Yep. I think we're doing 1080p today. Let's see. Let me pull it in and see what the settings are. Quality. Yep. I have a 1080p option. I don't do 1080p obviously here because I want to preserve my bandwidth, even though it's download bandwidth, and I'm A-okay. Bit rate, yeah, let's see the bit rate. Let's see if we can pop that up. We are doing 1080p at 3 megs to Facebook and 6 megs to YouTube. So depending on where you're watching, depends on what you see. If you are watching on our YouTube channel, obviously you're seeing YouTube. If you're watching on our website at easternshorebroadcasting.com, that's the YouTube channel. So that's the 1080p 6. If you're watching on Facebook, then that's 1080p 3. And all of it is 30 frames a second or 29.97. I think I'm going to try again to go up to 60 frames and see how that looks and see how this camera looks at 60 frames, because I think it'll look really, really good. Really, really good. All right. So that is all I know at the moment. Let's see, where are we? There we go. There we go. Oh, one more thing. Let's go back here. Can we do this without getting in trouble? One second here. Yeah, there we go. We're not in trouble. Okay. Welcome, QStream TV. Glad to have you. We're just wrapping up now, because we are about done. And if you missed it, coming up next week is Eamon Drew with Bird Dog to talk about the Flex line and Bird Dog stuff in general. This is the picture is very bright. It is actually the Bird Dog P200. So it's very, very, very nice. The software that we're using is vMix, vMix Pro package. Oh, it's Michael. Okay, welcome. There you go. Ed says, when you screen grab a live Android phone, how many frames would you suggest? Well, everything you can get. That is what you want. That is what you want. You want every single frame you can possibly get. But I think, in terms of priority order, my priority is smooth video. That is consistent high frame rate, as high as possible, 30 or 60. Anything less than 30, or if you're European, 25, anything less than that is going to be a little sketchy. And then the second priority is resolution. So I would rather have a higher frame rate at a lower resolution than I would a lower frame rate at a higher resolution, because nobody wants choppy video. Even if it's really clear video, you don't want choppy video. You want smooth video, and you'll accept something that's moderately not high definition if it's nice and smooth, as opposed to, obviously, something that is really, really choppy but really, really clear. Never recommend Wi-Fi, always Ethernet. Here we're in this studio, we've got AT&T, what they call UVerse, which is 100 megs down and 20 megs up. But the wireless here on the very same router is probably maybe 7 megs up, and I think it fluctuates a lot more. Yeah. Ed says, I'm not referring to the NDI camera. Let me look at his comment here. From Android, I'm talking about using a screen for demonstrating menu changes on an Android app. Well, if it doesn't have a lot of movement in it, Ed, then you can definitely get away with a lower frame rate. I mean, if it's especially if it's no movement at all and it's just a static change from one thing to another. But if there's some pizzazz in that movement, then you want to have as high a frame rate as possible. I have done situations like scoreboards where the clock is changing every second, where the score, changes obviously less frequently than that. But I don't need to send 30 frames a second video for a clock that changes every second. I can send, 10 frames a second video and be okay, or maybe even less than that. So, that's your measurement. In that case, I would get as low a frame rate as I possibly want. Hopefully that helps. Okay, RJ, we'll see you. All right, it says vMix 22 Pro does not accept screen capture. Well, it does for me. I don't know. vMix 22, if you're using vMix 22, you're using a one generation older. If you are using vMix 22 without a vMix license, that is, you're using a cracked copy, then you are in violation of laws, international laws, and other laws, and you should be whipped. We don't go for folks using cracked copies. So upgrade your vMix to 23, and yes, vMix will do a screen capture for sure. I do it all the time. In fact, you can just Google vMix screen capture and see, probably come up with a couple of videos that the guys at vMix have done showing how to use their screen capture. There are lots of different screen captures in vMix, including NDI. Well, let's wrap up the show for today. If I can help you with anything streaming related, the contact form at Eastern Shore Broadcasting, happy to help. If you are interested in getting a demo, and this obviously would have to be somebody in the States here, but getting a demo of the BirdDog P200, I have a couple of demo cameras on hand and can share one with you and even make a deal on a demo or get you a brand new one of the two. But I appreciate you guys taking time with me today, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for watching.